Ladies and gents, welcome to this episode of Pepp-Talk, designed to talk about everything and anything. And it's been a very long time since I've done this series. As many of you guys are probably aware, I haven't uploaded this in like ages. The last time I uploaded this video was during the summer of 2014. That's like that's close to a year. It's like six months, 7, 8, and my math is completely off, but whatever. The point is, it was a long time ago. And for those of you who are new to my channel, probably have no clue that this even existed. It was originally supposed to be a series dedicated to talking about literally everything and anything, like any subject that came to mind, and doing some Q&As every now and again, and I was planning on originally doing them once a month, but for some reason I just kind of stopped. And I haven't made one in a very long time, mainly just because I had really no topics, and also just because I was too busy focusing on other content. I don't know, I don't really have an excuse, guys. Like, I'm trying to think of like a legitimate reason why I didn't, but it's just, I don't know. Life, eh? It does things to you. Anyway, so what I want to talk about today was more specifically what's been happening. This is basically going to be a channel update, letting you guys know what's been going on with myself and my channel and my content and how things are progressing and where things are heading, etc. And basically just kind of giving you guys some insight on you know, everything. So some of you guys probably aren't aware of this. I know most of you guys who actually follow me on Twitter and actively talk with me regularly, you're mostly aware of this already since we've talked about it. Basically, I am now getting out of the Canadian Forces, so you know, that's one thing I've always kind of like most people know about. You know, I'm an infantry soldier in the army. That is no more. Well, kind of, because I'm still technically in right now, but I'm going through the release process, and it's been over 2 months, and it's funny because I was originally planning on, you know, live streaming more often and whatever once I got out and things were more finalized. But it just turns out life gets busier once you get out of the Canadian Forces. And this process of getting out, as I said, it has been 2 months. It's a very, like, long time having to do this. And I'm still going through it. Like, the 17th of this month, so in a couple of days, 3 to 4 days, I should roughly be finalizing the final papers and signing them off, and then being not completely taken out, but I'll be out of the Canadian Forces, so I'm no longer obligated to serve. And the good news, though, is, like, at first I was kind of, like, I was very reluctant. At first I was very, like, concerned and doubting myself, the decision of deciding to leave, and I was like, oh man, what am I doing? This is, like, such a huge part of my life, like, what am I gonna do without the army? And, you know, I was like a nervous wreck, sort of, but the thing that kind of kept me sane, or alleviated that feeling of nervousness and anxiety, is the fact that I'm put on a supplementary B list, and that basically means that I'm still in the Canadian Forces per se, and my file is saved for up to 5 years. So if I decide within 5 years I want to rejoin the Canadian Forces because, oh hey, you know, I miss it so much, or life just got so much harder, the army's a good out, then I can just rejoin and pick up right where I left off. So that eases me significantly more, just knowing that I can immediately, even the exact moment I sign my papers and quit, I can rejoin right then and there. Although I'm going to piss off a lot of clerks if I were to do that, because I'd be giving them a shit ton of paperwork, and that's, you know, so, I mean, if I'm going to do it, if I ever decide to rejoin, first of all, I'm probably not going to even do the army. I'm probably going to go into the Air Force, or something different, more meaningful career-wise. Because full-time infantry and whatever is, you know, not the wisest choice for a career. But, you know, something like the Air Force, becoming an engineer or even a pilot, if you can attain that, you know, there's a lot of opportunities there, even after, like, post-military service, you know, like commercial airliners, whatever, working in just any company. There's a lot of opportunities there, so it's like, if I'm going to rejoin, it's going to be that. But, of course, there's a lot of other things I've been thinking about as well. And this pertains mainly to schooling, because, you know, I'm just a guy who's like a high school graduate, and I never really, I mean, I was in high school when I joined the army, so I was not even, like, graduated yet. And in fact, to be honest, I have risked my high school diploma in graduating and getting expelled because of the army. I was skipping school all the time to actually go into my unit and train, and they didn't really know it. When they caught wind, they were getting really fucking pissed off at me, obviously, right? They're like, what are you doing? You know, like, you're skipping school for, what are you, this is the freaking reserves, man, what are you doing? Like, you don't do that shit, and they kind of set me straight there, and I went back and pretty much made sure I graduated and got my diploma. school's serious, boys. High school is a kind of a joke, but I mean, take it a little bit more seriously for those of you who are probably still in high school for whatever reason. I'm assuming most of you are adults, since the vast majority of my demographic is older, and that's kind of awesome, and I really appreciate that, having a mature audience. But anyway, so schooling. Well, believe it or not, guys, what I have always wanted to be for the last 4 to 5 years is, get ready for this, an astrophysicist. I shit you fucking not. I've always wanted to become a scientist, and being an astrophysicist was something I've always been fond of physics, and absolutely obsessed and fascinated by astronomy and space and the cosmos and all that shit, and I absolutely love it to death. You know, so I've been self-researching and educating myself and studying for quite some time now, so I know quite a bit, but obviously not anywhere near the level of people who've gone to school and, you know, studied this for like 10 years, which is what it takes to become an astrophysicist. It's a lot of schooling, and it's pure dedication, and if I were ever to do that, which it took me forever to even find schools, because it's very hard to even, in Canada, to like figure out where to go for educations in that regard. And I managed to find out, like, I managed to finally talk with somebody who I haven't talked to in ages, and they helped me figure out and get in contact with this professor who teaches, and like, so I kind of got the ball rolling a bit, but now it's kind of like, all right, how am I gonna, approach this? Am I going to do it? Because it would require me to move halfway across the country if I were to, actually do this. And it'd be a significantly long time of schooling, and finances are also another thing that's pretty important, right? Like, how am I going to live and feed myself if I'm studying one of the most complicated, most difficult subjects on the planet? Like, you have no time to dedicate to anything else. If I were to do that, I would probably, I'm not even kidding, quit YouTube, and I don't mean like fully quit it, but like my content would almost completely stop, and maybe like a video every now and again when I ever found the time to put out a video and play games. Because it would literally require me to give up my current way of life and dedicate myself to studying just that, and then, work on some crazy shit as I actually, like, graduate, get degrees, and etc., and actually probably go into a career field of some sort. So there was that. And then I was really planning on doing that, right? Like, even now, I'm still kind of thinking about it, but now, as I always go through my phases of contemplation and what I want to do with my life outside of knowing how to shoot a gun at people is, like, what am I going to do? And I thought, well, hell, I play a lot of video games. Why not become a game developer, right? Like, why not just do that? And considering there's a school, like, in my own city that teaches that, it's a game development, and they have a contract or some kind of, what is it called, like this affiliation with Ubisoft Montreal. So the guys that have made Far Cry, Far Cry 3, Far Cry 4, Ubisoft Montreal, the guys who, they have this affiliation with them, so everybody who goes to that school basically gets to get an internship at Ubisoft, and then they usually get hired. Like, there's an individual I know who got offered a job as a programmer, and he was like, but he didn't want to do it because he thought being a programmer was boring. But there's an opportunity there that I think I can easily attain within the near future if I so decided. It's not something that's completely out there. Like, becoming an astrophysicist is an insanely difficult amount of work and dedication and time. And being a game developer, it's like I can go to that school for 2 years, and then I get an internship at Ubisoft Montreal or any other company, and then suddenly I'm able to get hired by other companies and actually work in the game development field, which would be kind of cool, right? Like, who's gonna deny working game development would be kind of a sweet gig. So I'm thinking about that, which is also another thing. And on top of that, I need a job, so it's like I'm looking for other jobs in which I can do in the meantime. And I've actually been going to, like, there's a place that we have here in Canada. I don't know if there's anything like that in the States. It's not a job fair per se. It's this place called Job Zone, and basically you go to them and they help you find shit. And they're like, hey, you don't know what you're doing? Let's find your interests and help cater to your needs to get a job that will best suit you and make you more effective. And that guy just fell off the side. That's quite hilarious. And yeah, so what I ended up figuring out is that I don't even know why I didn't think of this. There's literally, and I've seen them before in my hometown, but it's basically a security, like those armored vehicles you see drive around, typical movie heist shit with those armored vehicles with security guys in them, that job. And we have a company in Canada, they're called Brinks Security, or just Brinks, people just know them as Brinks. And these guys are, you know, allowed to carry firearms, and they're security personnel. They go out with armored vehicles, they transport lots of money and information and things like that, and they're widely, you know, they're known throughout Canada. And I thought about that, and I'm like, you know, that would actually that's a perfect transition going from the army to a security guard. That's not just a regular boring security guard. I'm allowed to carry a weapon, and there are obviously, like, my life technically is in danger because there actually has been some robberies in Canada. Not super frequently, but surprising enough that I was like, what? Like, here I am thinking this job would be like a simple gig. Oh, cool, I got a pistol, like, fucking go and walk around and, you know, do my thing. Do my job, and then at the same time, it's like you realize there actually is a real threat because you read about what happened in Quebec, and it's like you see videos of what's happened to Brink personnel, and it's like, okay, well, this is no joke, and it's something I think I would actually be very, very good at, and in the meantime, until I can actually figure out what else I want to do with myself. Unless, of course, it turns out to be a sweet gig, a really good job, and a career, and I decide I want to stick with doing it for, you know, a number of years. So there's a lot on my plate right now, guys. I'm basically trying to think about what the hell to do with my life. And, I mean, the dream of being a full-time YouTuber, I wouldn't say it's completely dead. I would absolutely love to be able to do this full-time if I had a big enough channel to sit down and really, like, okay, cool, I could just produce content. Because this ultimately is what I really enjoy doing, and I would love to do this all the time. But the reality is, finances, paying for food and bills and living, and YouTube, although I make some money from it, it's nowhere near enough money to actually allow me to live and pay for bills and, you know, survive in this world. So I have to kind of, obviously, stray away from YouTube, not entirely, but minimize the amount of dedicated time I have to it and just, you know, actually contribute myself to something that's more profitable that'll actually help me, you know, again, live. So that's also one of the other reasons why my live streaming has pretty much ceased to exist, because I was going on a nice little spree of live streaming for a bit, and I gotta tell you, it was, like, insanely fun. Like, I thoroughly enjoy live streaming and having you guys, like, show up and sit down with a decent sized audience for, like, being a starter on Twitch. And, you know, it was, honestly, I could say it was some of the most fun I've ever had gaming. And I wish I could do it more often, but that's probably the reason why I kind of slowed that down. When I'm making YouTube videos, there's a difference there. You can kind of, like, play casually, and you acquire content by just recording every now and again, or even if you have shadow play, it's perfect. You can just hit the record button and it'll record whatever happened, and makes it very, very easy. And then whenever you have time, you can just compile it and then edit the video and commentate it like I'm doing right now, versus live streaming where you have to sit down for a pre-configured time and actually stream for an audience. And then, you know, there's a lot more work in there. It's easier to live stream than it is to edit and compile videos. But the thing that's harder about live streaming is the fact that you have to have a schedule that most people can come and actually enjoy watching you play, or, you know, just kind of sit and chill in a really relaxed environment with the person live streaming. You can just talk about whatever. There's more dedication there and more commitment versus just being able to produce content and throw it out there whenever you have the time available to you. So that's what's been happening. That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of personal information I kind of just threw out there, but I mean, those of you guys probably are already aware of most of that, since I've discussed. There's a few of you guys, I'm not gonna name names, but you know who you are, and we talk regularly, and it's cool shit. You guys are pretty cool guys, and yeah. I don't know what else to talk about now. I mean, you're seeing Unreal Tournament. This game's a lot of fun. I've been thoroughly enjoying this, and of course my obsession with Vikings, which I talked about in my last video, because that's also been happening. And that bullet just went through his head and didn't kill him. Interesting. Let's talk about the gameplay, like old traditional commentaries. Like the way YouTube used to be, when it was a lot easier than it is now. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I gotta figure things out, and that's pretty much it. So that's why my content has been significantly less, and that's why I haven't really been, I mean, I've been still playing games quite frequently, but I mean, I haven't really been producing content just because my mindset hasn't really been, like, integrated or really involved, or, you know, just in that state of mind where you need to produce content, you need to think of topics and just sit down and chat, right? There's a lot more to it than you think, guys. Like, a lot of people tend to think this is like the easiest job ever, for those who have it as a job, and it's like, you know, oh, YouTubing's a joke. It's so much fun. It's so easy. It's like, it is fun and it can be easy at times, but the reality is it actually is insanely stressful. Like when I was first starting out my channel, trying to get it to grow to a decent size or getting partnership, it's actually like it can be stressful because you have to. There's a lot of other under the hood things about like metadata and trying to use certain keywords to rank up your videos on YouTube and get them more noticed by individuals, and then your videos can get buried, or like it's just there's so much, and then you're trying to get like your audience to grow, and it's difficult because and if you're a variety channel like me, it's especially difficult because you don't focus on just one game. So you're not building an audience that focuses on just one specific game, which is a lot easier to do than it is to actually have a variety game channel. A perfect example of this was when I started playing Chivalry. That's when my channel really started to flourish and grow and get out of that rut that I was in for a while, because I had an audience growing around that particular game. And as you guys have probably noticed, as soon as I stopped playing it, things dissipated. Because that's just what happens. A lot of my old subscribers that I remember, people that used to talk to me regularly on Steam and whatever, they just kind of dispersed and ceased to exist around me. And then because I didn't make Chivalry content anymore, because, well, I didn't really enjoy the game anymore, because the game, obviously, I've made plenty of videos explaining why. And then suddenly I decided to make a Chivalry video, like those videos where I was saying, I'll occasionally check up on it. And they would reply back like, oh, I'm resubscribing because you're making Chivalry videos. And it's like, I'm not making, and then they would figure out I'm not really making Chivalry videos anymore, and then they'd unsubscribe. So it's like, there's a lot of stress there, basically, with trying to keep your channel entertaining for the masses and trying to keep them, subscribe to you and coming back and watching more content. So I don't know, if you guys have any questions, because this video is coming to an end, let me know in the comments, and I will definitely answer them on the next video. My name is PepperBelly. Thank you guys for joining me today, and I'll see you guys on the next one.